Hello and welcome back to the Unfiltered Bride. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching a clip, I'm in a different location. A lot of things have changed in this episode. I don't know if you like change, but they're not all staying, so it's okay. Basically, this is my new house. Welcome. This is where we're currently filming because Beth has moved locations for where we used to film. So we are planning that. But at the moment, I'm in the house. I made it. So why not film here? The other thing you might have an issue with is potentially bigger, which Beth and I will explain. Wait, you're not Beth.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding and welcome
The Unfiltered Bride Podcast. Tips from the top table and beyond.
so you know it's going to be juicy.
No, I'm joking. Beth has not left the podcast, but she is not very well today and can't film. So it was either don't put an episode out on Wednesday or get the next best thing, which is Brian.
The next best thing. Wow.
You're not sat right. You put your microphone up higher. You
Okay.
don't look comfy. Are you all right?
I'm comfy. I've got my slippers on.
Yeah, you bought slippers. I don't know what they're doing to me. I've never seen a man in slippers.
It was pretty cold in this house, so I need warmth on my feet.
Okay, I'm gonna have to request a couple of things in this podcast.
Go. Monotone? Yeah. Obviously, yeah.
Just do your normal
Just
voice.
change the record. I
but
might
do
change
your
my
normal
tone, but you
voice.
need to change the record.
Monotoneness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's it. Actually, it was just monotoneness.
Okay. Right.
That's my only
Here I
complaint
am.
for you.
Okay.
Thank you for
What are
stepping
we going
in.
to talk about today?
Well, obviously you are frugal spender. You are the money man, and we had a ridiculous amount of feedback from our 20k budget weddings.
We did.
And I want to wait till Beth is back to do the proper dissection of all, because loads of you have sent in your budgets for like either less than 20k or more and things like that. And I'm shook by some of them. Like, honestly, I'm highly impressed. Well done. But I want to save that for Beth. But I do want to talk about money.
Mm.
And I feel like we've kind of touched on this in the past, but not properly. So
Well,
I
no,
want...
'cause we've done what? We've done bartending and...
Groom.
and yeah, from a groom's perspective. So yeah.
But I want to talk specifically about
Talk
money.
about my favourite subject.
Yeah, it's weird that it's your favourite subject, I'm not going to lie.
I think it's because I realised it affects everything in life, including weddings.
Yeah.
Like, it's a touch point that it affects everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your age, your race, your gender. It doesn't matter anything. Everything to do with your life and to do with your day, quite frankly, relates in some way to money.
Yes. You did say this the other day, that every single decision that you make in the daytime you can relate back to money somehow.
Yeah, it does. Whether consciously or subconsciously or obviously or not so obviously, in some way, shape or form, a lot of your decision making is based around money, what you earn, whether you feel like you have enough money, you don't have enough money. And people downplay that and quite often spend their entire life thinking that money is not important when it is. It's not everything. It doesn't actually make you happy, but the lack of it certainly makes you unhappy. And I think that
I've never
is a
seen
huge factor.
anybody sad on a jet ski.
Exactly.
You know the episode of Friends. This is why I do like doing a podcast with you, because you do know Friends. You know when Joey's trying to prove that Phoebe's trying to prove that there is such a thing as a good deed.
Selfless good deed.
Selfless good deed. I want to prove that there is a decision you can make that's not related to money.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Oh, there is. Like, there's reason.
Yeah, there is actually loads.
There's
I
a
can
reason
think
the
of quite a few.
saying this: the simplest things in life are free. That's totally true.
I was just thinking, if I chose to give you a kiss in the morning or not, that isn't money related.
No, and to be fair, like, we weren't, when we met, most of our relationship, we weren't broke as anything. So that didn't. I wouldn't say it did affect our happiness externally, but as far as us being together, we were quite content for a long period of time, even with a child, not earning a lot of money. So it's not to say that you can't be happy with earning not a lot of money, but as soon as you realize, or as soon as you start earning more money, you realize you can buy yourself more freedom. And
I don't think it's the amount of money. I think it's knowing what to do with the money.
Sure, yeah, totally.
I don't need to earn lots of money, but I like my money doing stuff. I like being very intentional with my money.
Yeah, and some people's lifestyle requires very little, and some, I would say the optimal lifestyle requires minimal, but there's some people who buy their happiness or think they're buying happiness. They might have a high income and they, buy nice cars and houses and go on holidays, and that's their external way of showing happiness. But actually, deep down, they're probably not very happy.
Okay,
That's quite generalised.
You went too deep then. Let's bring it back. Let's remember that we're not on the Frugal Spender podcast. We're on the Unfiltered Bride. This is funny and like
you brought the subject of money.
Humor. So what I'd like to start by doing, let me just get my phone out, is I want you to think back to before you I feel like you know a bit too much about weddings. So I need you to go back to proper you that didn't really know about weddings.
I still wouldn't say I know what things cost. Like I know a few things, but I'm definitely not an expert in what things cost with weddings.
Okay, good. Because I was speaking to a couple the other day and they were talking about how much different things were, and floristry came up and he was like, I had no idea that that's what flowers cost. And I think that's the argument that most people have, is that typically a woman will go, well, I'm not going to give away any answers, but it's $3,000 for this florist quote. And then the guy is like, what? Like, how much is a bunch of flowers? But that isn't the girl being super extra. That is just how much it costs.
Yeah, I'd probably still, even if I did know the numbers, I'd probably still be anti what some things cost.
What? Like what?
Flowers, for example.
Yeah, but flowers are the decor. There's no point doing a wedding if it doesn't look...
Yeah, no, I understand the opposite logic. I just think it's crazy.
I am looking forward to an argument today. It's kind of built up, so we'll just do it on here. Okay, average cost. This is 2023, so you don't need to put inflation on it and all that jazz up to this year. So, how much do you think the average venue, including catering, is?
The average venue.
So venue hire and catering,
including catering.
Yeah.
7,000.
No, £9,800. And my thing with these averages is I appreciate it's the average, but you have to remember that some things bring it really far down. So I would say that it's actually probably more than that for...
What do you mean some things bring it down?
Some, like if you go to a registry office and have 20 people, that brings it right down. But then you do have ones that have 250 people. Okay, we'll take it as an average. The average wedding dress.
600.
How much do you think my wedding dress was?
It was like £1,500 or something, wasn't it?
No, £1,100.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is an absolute bargain, just FYI.
It just boggles my mind. It really boggles my mind.
Yeah, because your suit was £100.
Like, yeah, it was a really nice dress. You looked amazing in it. I've already
married you. You don't need to be nice to me now.
That's a lot of money for one dress to be worn once.
Yeah.
And if it didn't have the word wedding attached to it, you would never...
No,
there is no other event where you would justify £1,000 on a dress. There just isn't. Unless you were super rich.
I saw somebody sent me a really good TikTok or picture the other day, and it was like two girls text each other, and it was in an argument. What do? He started to make sense, and then she replied, "Cry."
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand that weddings are like,
I don't like it.
Irrational spending because it's cultural, and I get all that kind of stuff.
But again, okay, I hear it's very valid. I agree. That is a ridiculous. It's actually the average is £1,500, but
nailed it.
That's
what I said.
£600.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The problem is, go and find a wedding dress for less than that. It's not.
Yeah, I get it, but would anybody know? Like, let's say you didn't want anyone to know that you were poor.
Okay, let's not throw the word poor around.
But let's say you were. Let's say you had no money.
Okay. Well, we're not getting married then.
Well, some people do. They have done. Okay, poor is probably the wrong word. On a low income and don't have any savings. Let's say you wanted to get married and wanted to like show off a bit, and you went and got a second-hand dress. I don't know what's it.
I'm not.
What does a £1,500 dress go for after it's been worn?
I'm not saying. Hear me out, because this is the problem. Is I have to counteract what you're saying here to cover all bases, but I'm going to end up looking like a spoilt brat. So I'm just going to put that I'm. What's it called when you elaborate? You know, like in a story where it's like some things have been
embellished. I'm
embellishing a little bit to play devil's advocate, but I'm only getting married once. You hate this word. I don't care.
Deserve.
Do I not deserve to have the wedding dress that I want to have?
Yeah,
I mean, if you can find a second-hand one that looks nice, that fits perfectly, that is the dress you wanted, you don't get the whole, like, to me, my favourite girl math of it is, if you're having a 2-year engagement and the wedding is 20 grand, what's 20,000 divided by 600 and how many days? Basically, all of that planning, all of those experiences that you have whilst planning your wedding that's what it costs to have the wedding.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing that. And being quite close to the wedding industry, like more than, I ever have been up until a couple of years ago.
It's basically £27.30 a day.
But like talking to brides and stuff, like it does become their personality, a lot of it, and they become quite obsessed with it. And they clearly get a lot of joy. I'm sure they get a lot of sadness and stress from it too. But you can clearly see like it's something that like consumes them. So that money part of it, if it provides you the happiness and you can justify it, my concern is spending all this money and then regretting it. Not regretting the marriage and
regretting this,
but regretting like and looking back and going, actually, like, I don't know, maybe if they were saving for a house or whatever, and then once the day's done, do you look back and go, oh, I really wish I shouldn't have. Did it really matter that much? Because before, I can see you get caught up in the whirlwind of wedding planning and your family and trying to keep up with the Joneses wedding wise because your friend got married.
I've never heard, and I open this up to the floor for people to DM if they disagree. I've actually genuinely never heard anybody say they regret what they spent on their wedding day. Like, get me wrong, I imagine people...
Would people voice that,
but
though?
People regret... I put on my social media the other week, what's your biggest regret on the wedding? Not one thing was about money.
Yeah.
In fact, if anything, it was the opposite of not spending this... should have done more.
I suppose because it is such a joyous day and you kind of just like accept that that's the cost. And I'm okay with that. But
I would be interested. I think people get, they don't want to say that they regret stuff on their wedding because then it does diminish the wedding day. Can I ask you a question then? And you don't have to name particulars, but is there anything you regret spending money on for our wedding?
No.
That's what I mean. And the only regrets you have is actually spending more money, is actually things that you wish you got.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
So then tell me, you know more about money mindset than most people. How are people supposed to deal with that, knowing full well that people don't regret what they spent on their wedding, but they do regret what they didn't spend on their wedding?
Well, I think some people probably do regret what they spent on their wedding. I think because it's one of the most expensive purchases or totality of purchase that people make in their life. After a house, a car, maybe. A lot of those things, I mean, generally people mortgage a house, so it's like a monthly payment, same as a car for most people. Whereas hopefully most people are saving up for a wedding. I know some people go into debt for it. Please don't go into debt for things. Like, don't go, certainly not into debt that's actually going to cause you some sort of financial hardship. That would be the worst case. But I think because, from our perspective, my one thing, I know we said this before, that my stipulation for the wedding was to not go into debt whatsoever. So the day we got married, there's no way I could have a balance on the credit card.
Yeah, but it depends what the balance was. If it was $1,000, I would have done it.
That would have caused me some sort of mental pain, for sure. It would have. That would have made me resent and regret.
Next month.
Everyone says that about debt until something else comes up. Like, that's how people snowball into debt. And I think weddings, people are susceptible more than anything to go into debt because there is this, flowers have to cost this much. You have the venue added on X, Y.
But this is the thing, people, the brides typically are not the people that are saying it has to cost this much. It just, that is what, if I told you to go and find a floral quote, you wouldn't find it for £300, which is what people think it costs.
But do you not think it's important that people have a budget and stick to that?
Because, how can you write a budget until you've inquired? I'm asking you now to write a budget for a wedding and you've just said £600 on a dress. Yeah, but if you haven't got the budget for a particular venue, then you can't then choose that venue just because it's more than you thought it was going to be. But this is why we're discussing it. What do we do first? Do we get the quotes first for our dream wedding and then look at the price and go, that's depressing? If a tight budget is the main factor, which I'd imagine for a lot of people... It's never the main factor. Of course it is. For a load of people only for you is it the main factor. No, if you haven't got a lot of money and you want to have a nice, like a relatively nice wedding, and I don't know, whatever that number is, you firstly work out whether you can afford to save. You said it's the main factor. Well, it is, because everything costs the money. So, like, you can't do the thing without the money.
So of course it is the biggest factor. Like for some people, I totally understand that, like, if they've been given money and they have rich parents or whatever and they get given money for a wedding, money probably isn't really a factor. And there's certainly brides out there, their money isn't a factor, and good for them. Like, have the most extravagant wedding you can. But there's people, and I'd imagine most people that are listening to this have budget constraints.
I mean, everybody has budget constraints.
Well, there you go. So that is the biggest thing.
It's not the biggest factor, though.
What's the biggest factor then?
If I said to you, what's the biggest factor of our wedding, your first thing wouldn't have been budget. Yours might have been.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong person. No, as in, like, obviously, bar, band, or whatever's important to you. I'm not talking about that, but you can't have those things without the most important thing, which is the money, which is the conversation we started this entire episode with, is that it touches every part of your life, and a wedding is no different. So you have to start with the money first. You can't go into, like, it's like saying, what's the point in saving for a wedding? I just put it all on a credit card, and then whatever the budget, like whatever goes up to, it goes up to. No, there has to be a limit, and the limit is dictated by the things you buy.
What if you disagree on the limit?
Well, that's the argument you need to have. And I say argument intentionally because you're going to argue. Like if for us, for example, we argued about a budget for a wedding.
Yeah, because yours was ridiculous.
How would I know how would I know?
So this is the issue. This is my point of this whole episode. Respectfully, stereotypically, men have not got a clue how much a wedding costs. Not got a clue.
I agree.
And your quote of, I don't know, I'm quite happy to go up to 10 grand. You're dizzy. Like, it just, you can't do a wedding for 10 grand. You can't.
Yeah. But, yeah. But what happens?
But then how do you have that argument when, respectfully, the guy has no idea what they're talking about? And they're like, well, no, I'm not happy to spend more than 10 grand on a day.
What if a guy proposes?
But don't propose. I tell you what.
If a guy proposes to a girl and, like, that was something that they weren't ever prepared, maybe because they never had that discussion before, they were never prepared to spend more than 10 grand. So it's a big shock when she's like, stereotypically, oh, it's going to cost us 30 grand to get married. He's like, what the?
Oh, guys, my cat's in the video.
Cat's made an appearance.
Hear me out then. Don't propose to me until you know how much a wedding costs.
That's a crazy thing to say.
Tell me why that's crazy.
Because a guy...
No, in all seriousness, you're saying, will you marry me? Without having any understanding. It's like saying, will you move house with me? And not looking how much houses cost. And then being like, oh, I thought we could get a house for 100 grand. No.
Yeah, but that's an awkward...
Is that not exactly what...
Yeah, but okay, so what's the average cost of a wedding?
20 grand.
Okay. So if I Googled that before I, like, you know, when I was saving up for a ring
Don't
or whatever...
Don't propose until you're emotionally ready to spend 20 grand on a wedding.
Okay, but then what happens if that's because I've Googled that.
Yeah.
And then I ask you to marry me, you say yes, yay. We start wedding planning.
Yeah.
And we start talking about a budget and I'm like, 20 grand. And you're like, no, we're spending 50 grand.
Yeah, but at least your 20 grand is a more reasonable amount. When you come at me with a 10 grand, I laughed at you.
I wouldn't say that's not a crazy amount considering you were in the wedding industry.
No, Brian, that's a crazy amount.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the problem. You still don't know that.
What?
We tried to do a budget the other day. The last episode of 20 grand.
And I've seen a lot of those emails for the people's budgets.
Yeah.
And some of them are less than 20 grand.
Yeah, not less than 10, are they?
Well,
10
I've not read all the emails, but people get, like, my brother, and he had, respectfully, he had a very basic, very, very
and
basic.
And they are now going to be having,
because now they've got more money.
Yeah, I know, but then what's the point? Why didn't you, wait?
Oh, don't say that again?
No, what's the point?
Say that again? What was the point?
No,
they wanted to get married.
What I was saying is, what was the point? Just wait until later.
Because for some people, and I'm sure it might be the minority, for some people, getting married isn't the big day event party element. For some people, it is actually to get married.
First of all, I have no judgment of anybody who can do a wedding under 10 grand. Like, absolutely fine. Our legal wedding was under 10 grand. Loved it. If that was enough for me, we'd stop there. But it wasn't. I want the wedding. And the problem is there's shame around the thing of being like, it's always Bridezilla and it's always Type A bride and it's always the girl's big day and blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't have to feel bad for wanting the biggest day of my life to be how I want my biggest day of the life to be.
I don't think anyone should feel bad about it. But I think if you're at that point in your relationship where you're about to get married or you're engaged or whatever, These conversations should have been happening way before.
We never had a conversation about how much money we spent on a wedding before you proposed.
Well, we should have.
What? We didn't.
We should have. Or you should know your partner well enough to know the expectation, or you should know their financial habits and I don't know, their financial desires, all that kind of stuff. These are you should know your partner. What if you're going to get married? You should know them well enough to know a ballpark figure what they're going to spend. So I think people then have arguments.
No,
I think so.
What do you mean? I had no idea what you thought we were going to spend on a wedding.
That's probably why we didn't have the discussion, because you knew it was going to be a multiple of that.
I promise you, nobody has that conversation before they get married.
Should they not?
Would
you discuss what roughly ballpark figure house you can afford?
Well, I just typed in 4.5 times our salary and went to the max.
Yeah, and that's what people do with weddings too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My problem is you can't, this is the actual battle with it, is that you can't get that time back. You can always earn more money.
Easy to say for
Are
somebody
you falling
who
out
can
with
earn
me? No, but everybody can earn more money. You can earn more money.
Yeah, no, I
you could
get
pay
the
off
sentiment.
your wedding a year.
I totally get the logic.
Because the other problem is time. Like, I need to get married, I need to have babies, I need to buy a house, all these things. All have to be done within like a 5-year window. And you can pretend they don't need to have to be done, but they do. This is the time to do it. And we're going to have, we've done the wedding, we've done the babies, we've done the house. All we're going to do now is earn money. But like, there's no other we've got no more big purchases. So why not keep paying off stuff after it?
You could justify.
No, it's just a genuine question.
Logic.
But it's a question.
You basically, why do we not have a Ferrari on the drive?
I'm asking you the same thing.
You could say that about anything.
But,
we could just earn more money.
But you can earn more money. You cannot go back to your wedding day.
Yeah, but to be financially sensible, and responsible, you have to have trade-offs. You can't just like spend every penny because we're going to earn more money. That's crazy. There has to be balance. There has to be.
I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing. And I'm very good with money.
Which is my logic of not going into debt for a wedding, because sod's law is that, something, I don't know, maybe you get pregnant straight after and you're like, oh my God, we're in debt. And now we're going to pay. Oh no, we'll just put all the baby stuff on the credit card because we're going to, we can earn money later.
That's
like
fair.
This is literally how people snowball themselves into unmanageable debt. And I know that sounds like a proper downer, but like that's literally that. I talk to people like that all the time that find themselves like the average person's in a load of debt.
But then what do?
Stay in debt their whole life.
No, the ones you speak to, they then get out of debt and then they start investing and they earn loads of money.
That is the minority of people. Think about the number of people that I talk to about money, the small percentage that I talk to that say that they've done that. And quite often, and it's a super cool message to get them, somebody's like, oh, I've paid off this much debt. That's so cool. But that's such a small percentage of people. Think about the people who, I don't know, see my videos or other people's videos about money and just don't take action, or do take action, but it takes them so long to get out of it, so it never really happens. Or they're really motivated to do it, but they don't actually do it because they get married, have a baby, like whatever those things are that cost money. The number of people that actually get out of debt, and everyone just kicks the can down the road thinking they're going to do it in the future, but most people don't do it. And getting married shouldn't be something that adds to that. Like, it should be something that is joyous and isn't a burden. It should be, you shouldn't look back and regret it. And I think the people who use debt probably do.
I'll ask you a different question. Do you like our wedding video?
Yes.
Do you love it? Would you be sad if we didn't have it?
Yes.
So if somebody was getting married and they said, we can't afford to have the wedding video, should I put it on a credit card? That's the only way. We haven't got enough time to save for it now. What would you say?
I would say don't
yeah, but that's not true, because you never.
It's true.
But you never get that back. You cannot go back and get that. You can't have a party and then have the saxophonist that you didn't get. You can't upgrade your rings later
Georgie,
on.
there is nothing that you can convince me
really
to put somebody into debt for a wedding.
And I would like to make it clear that I'm not saying to get into debt. I'm just saying there are examples of things where people are like, oh my God, but...
Okay, so, and I know you can't go back in time, but my response to that would be, you haven't budgeted properly because
but it's too late now, we're in.
What? So if it's too, like, because you haven't thought about it, we should just do it anyway. So like, go on.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, but things like, you took, sorry.
Don't get angry and hit the microphone.
I didn't mean to hit the microphone. I can see, I had the internal battles of spending and it being one day, but it being the day. And it was like, it's probably the worst part of weddings. Not just
money?
The guests, money, what to spend, expectations. You get the opposite expectations where people are like, oh, you not doing a free bar. Oh, you're not doing 3-course meal.
Who says that really? Like, people might think it.
They do think it and they do say it.
Yeah, I get it. But like, if we were going to a wedding and they weren't doing a free bar, I'm not going to go, why are they not doing a free bar? I'd go, well, they clearly can't. They haven't got the budget to do that.
I don't want someone to sit at my wedding and be like, oh, you haven't got the budget to do that.
So you must do a free bar
properly.
because somebody might think, why are they not doing a free bar?
I don't know. But then the other side of it is, the flip side of it is, you then get people come to the wedding going, God, you must have spent a fortune on that. And like judging you for what you have spent as well.
So what's the moral of that story?
You can't get it right.
Exactly. So do what you want to do. So do what you want to do and what you can afford.
But I want to put the credit card, I want to put the videographer on a credit card so I can get those memories.
Yeah, we're never going to agree on that.
That's fine. Okay, right. I'm going to ask you some more. I had to change phones because my phone died because you were banging on about debt. What is the average cost of wedding makeup?
Wedding makeup?
Yeah.
For what? For just the bride or for everybody?
I would say, looking at this price, it would be bride plus 3 bridesmaids, maybe.
£300.
£360.
I know too much about weddings.
But I thought.
But then previously, I might have even said more. Actually,
do you reckon?
Yeah, maybe.
But you would also be like, just do your own makeup.
Yeah, I definitely would say that. I get why people like if you've got the budget. Absolutely, I totally understand why people do that. Because you're out. It's the same reason you have a cleaner in your house, because you're outsourcing the thing that A, you want it to be better, but also B, you want to outsource it so you can free your mind for other things. I totally understand that.
Yeah, some people can't do their own makeup. But also...
Well, what are they doing for the rest of the 360?
No, you can't. It's the biggest day of your life, Brian. What if your makeup doesn't go right that day?
Like I just said, I get why people... I understand why somebody would have a makeup artist doing it.
The other problem I have is that typically, if you compare the price it costs to get a man ready for a wedding and the price it costs to get a woman ready for the wedding, they are worlds away from each other. So you're like, well, I'm just getting a haircut and it costs £9 from Quick Save.
Whoa.
What's it called? What's the generic haircut place?
You're thinking of the American one.
What is it called? Oh, there used to be one in Cheltenham.
Did they?
Supercuts.
Yeah.
So you can get a haircut from Supercuts for £9. You'll shave your own beard, put on a rented tux for £100, and you're literally done. But we can't do that. We have to have hair, makeup, expensive dress, shoes, underwear. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you can't wear a certain dress with just your underwear that you've got upstairs. Remember when I asked you to bring my underwear to the tour because I forgot it, and I had to make you bring like 6 pairs because you didn't know what would suit under it.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of this is kind of like made up stuff.
No, I can't wear.
No, I understand. Like when you explain it, I get it. But like, don't you think like you create a lot of your own problems? You know what I mean?
Oh, that can be a clip. 100%. You fucked up there.
No, but it's like
we created
and I mean that respectfully.
Our own problems. Is that what you just said?
But is it
women
like
created
I didn't
our
say,
own
oh, well,
problems.
hold on. I did not say. I said
me
you.
specifically.
I said you. Like if you choose a particular dress
Remember
that
the
requires.
last episode where everyone hated you. You're doing it again.
I'm used to it. If you chose a particular dress that's so like out of the ordinary, that requires specialty.
I'll stop you there.
Specialty underwear.
It's not out of the ordinary.
Well, then why would you need out of the ordinary underwear?
It's not out of the ordinary underwear and it's not out of the ordinary thing.
So why would you have it upstairs then? Because
I can't wear, if it's a skin tight dress, like tight dress, I've got no underwear upstairs.
Kim K Skims.
No, because they're too thick and they do a line at the top of the thing and they're
Get
shorts.
some thinner ones.
And the dress skimmed my thighs. Get some what?
Get some thinner ones.
How much do you think Skims are?
Oh, a lot.
No,
Kim
how much?
Kardashian's
How much
put
do
the
you reckon
markup on
a
it.
pair of Skims are?
50 quid.
Like 60.
See,
so now I've got to put
how
that in my
accurate I
thing.
am with my guesses
Yeah,
here.
I know, I'm quite impressed. But you don't have to buy new boxers. You literally can't see it. It doesn't matter. If you were wearing white trousers, would you just wear your normal boxers upstairs?
Yeah, but white boxers.
Interesting. You should actually wear skin colour. Do they do skin colour boxers for men?
Depends on your skin colour.
No. Do they do skin colour boxers?
I don't know. I've never had them. I've never had a need or desire.
Right. Average cost of wedding hair. This is without extensions that you're probably going to need because your hair's got to be thick to be able to do certain styles.
£150.
No, £358.
Per person? What, just for the bride?
No, that'll probably be bride and a couple of bridesmaids. Average cost of accessories and so veil, accessories, shoes.
£200.
£380. Average cost.
Like you beat me or something.
I win. Average cost of rings and jewellery. I don't think that. Okay. I would have said it was more than that.
500.
Oh, okay. £955 for both rings. But again,
Wow,
this is the
lot.
problem. I have to wear this forever. Arguably, it should be one of the most expensive things I'm purchasing.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Just going to replace it.
This is literally how you ride up your wedding budget because I wear it forever, but then you've also justified the one day you have to do everything because of the memory. So like you basically just finding the thing you want to spend the money on and you're justifying it and don't even lie and say you're not.
The memories do last forever, and the ring
so
is
the ring lasts, the
literally,
memories last, everything lasts. Let's spend a load of money.
This is a really important day.
I know it is.
But you'll spend how much for a golf membership?
I haven't spent any money on a golf membership.
How much are you going to spend on a golf membership?
I'm looking for the cheapest one.
Right, how much is it?
I'll use that like twice a week.
I think about my wedding like every day.
Do you?
No. I do because I'm working weddings.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, average cost of wedding music. Okay, sure. Average cost of wedding music for the day, for the ceremony and reception. And the party.
The average...
Basically, cost of music throughout the day.
£3,000.
£1,900.
Nah, that's
but that's a DJ.
Right. Yeah,
That's
I suppose.
DJ. DJs aren't ridiculous.
No band's going to cost that much.
No band's cost that much. Average cost of wedding entertainment that's not music.
400.
700.
Hmm.
Average cost of professionally printed wedding stationery. What is wedding stationery, Brian?
Save the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did we do for Save the Dates?
Like a frosted, I don't know what you call it, like a see-through paper laminate type thing. I don't know what the plastic's called.
I did not send out laminated.
No, I don't know what the plastic.
Vellum.
What?
Vellum.
Vellum? What is that? That's not a word.
It's the frosted paper that's on top of it.
Vellum.
I think so, yeah. Vellum.
I've never heard that before. Anyway, we had some vellum, some frosted vellum,
Vellum
and then we had some
paper.
card. Okay, and then I had a little ring in the top corner with some.
What?
Oh, see,
What do you mean
I'm
a
describing
ring?
it for somebody to a layman. This makes sense. It was like a gold ring with a little that you tied them with together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know what you call it, a hoop.
I thought you meant, holding the paper together.
Yeah.
I didn't put an emoji of a ring on there, is what I was trying to say.
That's not. I didn't use the word emoji.
Did I put anything in that hoop?
You probably did, yeah. Some string or something.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was like a black tassel.
Yeah.
There we go. It's all coming back to me.
Anyway, what's the cost of stationery? So it's not just
£200.
okay, £413.
I feel like they're just doubling my answer.
Maybe you're just not clued up with what you need.
Maybe
because that's probably invitations as well on the day stationery.
Yeah. What's the welcome sign? Yeah. It's all adding up.
Average cost of wedding transport.
Fucking bane of my life that was.
Oh, you did nothing.
Oh, it stressed me out. It stressed you out and you did nothing.
Yeah. Pardon?
You did nothing.
I booked it.
You did nothing till a week before we got married.
I did it 2 weeks before we got married, actually. And I had been contacting bus companies, but it was so expensive that I was just ignoring it, actually. How much was ours? How much was our bus?
Like
Buses,
800
taxis.
quid or something.
£800.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But
I was more than average, I guess, because is it? I don't know. I'd say 500.
£626. This is the problem. I don't want to
spend
spend that money on
like a vintage car or something as well?
It might be wedding cars, might be buses. My problem is I don't want to spend that money on that either.
Yeah,
but
nobody does.
if you can't get guests there, there's no point doing it.
Yeah, fair.
Thanks. Average cost of wedding decor and hire. Where's flowers in here?
Wedding decor.
Mm.
1,500.
1,200. Average cost. I'm just going to Google this. Average cost of wedding flowers. What do you think?
Average cost wedding flowers.
Yeah.
600.
Ranges from 500 to 1,500. What are you getting for £500? Like if you, I mean,
But like, if I go to Tesco,
right? I was literally about to say to you, never in your life have you bought me a bouquet from a florist. You're a Tesco man. You were a petrol station man.
where the hell are there florists around here?
Are you joking?
Yeah, name one.
That one by the Keys
but what's
that
it called?
Joe goes to get Danny flowers.
Oh, that's because he does a lot of things wrong. So he has to.
You do a lot of things wrong.
Yes, fair, but I go to Tesco more often.
Yeah, but I don't want Tesco flowers. I want florist flowers.
They probably come from the same place.
No, it's different. Florists hand tie those bouquets.
Is the tying the important part?
Well, it's the love that's gone into it. A
What
bouquet that you
what
get
about
from
the
a
love of
florist
me
is going to be
driving to
better.
Tesco?
It's going to be you were at Tesco anyway.
Prove it. My point is, you could go to Tesco and buy, but like again, if you're doing this on a budget, you could get
okay. What did I ask you to get?
£600
What did I ask you to get on Sunday?
tulips.
Did you?
No, because there wasn't
Why?
any.
Pardon?
Because there weren't any.
So
there.
we're going to risk that on a wedding day, are we?
Well, no, I'm not going to
Exactly,
go on
but
my
that's
wedding
the
day. Am I?
point.
I'm going to go there.
Boys will have answers like this, little quick answers back, like I'll just go to Tesco and get some flowers. What if they don't have any flowers? What if it's not the colour? What if it's not the right quality?
But don't florists can't they not guarantee things?
No,
because
they
it's whatever
order stuff
agency?
in. They
What, so a
order-
florist can guarantee that you're going to get these flowers on your wedding day?
Pretty much, yeah.
The right colour?
I didn't say the right colour, but they can get the
You
flowers.
just said,
But
you
also,
used
if you're
colour as an
picking-
example.
But if you're picking flowers in season, then yes, absolutely. I've never ever done a wedding where they've been like, oh, sorry, we couldn't get any of the flowers.
But you don't know the cost of those. See, this is something I've learned. Is that you have to buy them at auction.
Yeah, but the couple...
What kind of a crazy concept is that?
Well, go speak to the government about it. I don't know.
What the hell's the government got to do with it?
I don't know who does the price of flowers.
Probably not the government.
Somehow it is. It all relates back to the
I would
government.
blame the government, to be fair.
What else is there that you have to pay for at a wedding? Oh, I was going to tell you some of these stats as
You're
well.
the wedding planner.
I know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. How much do you reckon the average wedding planner is? This is bullshit, just FYI.
The average wedding, to plan the wedding.
Cost of a wedding planner. Cost to hire a wedding planner.
2,000.
£1,800. You're not getting a full-on wedding planner for that. I don't think so anyway.
Yeah, but are they
A
like a
coordinator?
venue, like somebody at the venue who's organising
Brian,
stuff?
you know better than that.
No, I'm saying if in their stats, are they? Is that what
No,
they?
no,
is that
because they
what
don't
they?
get paid separately from that.
Hmm.
No, don't be ridiculous. Oh, average cost of a wedding photographer,
1,200.
1,500.
Mm.
Videographer,
£2,000.
1,300.
What, cheaper than a photographer?
Yeah, apparently.
On videographer is more expensive generally.
Typically, yeah.
Mm.
This is what I mean. And then you get, so if you were a good boy that then went and looked at prices of things, it's still then not very accurate. And then the problem is that the girl is the bad person by being like, oh, here's 3 quotes. And you're like, what the hell? That's ridiculously expensive.
But I have the privilege of meeting quite a lot of people at the top of their game in the wedding industry.
Yeah.
So like I kind of know what people charge-ish. They're like the best videographers, the best bands.
How much do you think the best videographer is?
$5,000.
No, there's some that are way more. But okay, some of the ones you
But like
would
a
have
really
met,
high-end
$5,000.
videographer that I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, their stuff's really good. And I know that they're standard. So like I would struggle like to somebody who's way less experienced, maybe that's cost $1,000, let's say. And like there's a big variance in their ability to do something. I would now struggle. Whereas before, that's only because I know these people, I know how skilled they are. Like, so I would then struggle to have somebody who's like, let's say, quote unquote, worth the $1,000 videography versus the $5,000 one.
There's a reason that someone's 1,000 and someone's 5,000.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but but had I not known these people and don't know these people, I probably wouldn't have cared.
Okay, so give some advice for people that aren't understanding of the wedding industry. If you're a guy looking at a quote from somebody that's £1,000 and somebody that's £5,000, how can they look at it properly?
Well, it's finding the balance between your budget and how good their stuff is, I suppose. Like, you could find somebody, take Pat, for example. There was a time when he wouldn't have charged much money, but was still probably skilled. I'm sure he's definitely got better over time, but he still would have been like, when he charged less, when he was first started.
But I think you charge less at the start because you don't have the market. No, but
exactly.
you don't have the...
Yeah. So surely that is a good way of getting into it. You find people who are newer suppliers, because like, you're going to charge a premium for somebody.
But how do you find a newer supplier?
Less followers on Instagram. I'd imagine for photographers, their kind of status is how many followers they got, pretty much, because Instagram is all about photos. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah, but
the more followers they have, the more they can charge.
Now we're just paying the price of how famous they are on Instagram.
Basically, is that not what happens?
No.
Yeah, of course it is. Especially for photographers, that's 100% what happens. If somebody could command a way higher price if they have 100,000 followers versus having 600.
How many followers does Pat have?
I don't know, a few thousand.
Yeah, but how many would you think he has based on his experience and... Sorry, Pat, we're using
No, Pat should have more followers based on his ability.
But then you can't be based on how many followers you got.
But if he
Look how many followers you've got and you're useless. All right, take your bartending.
I'm here on a podcast talking to you about money, aren't I?
There's no other options, Brian. Take your bartending page.
Yeah.
Right? First of all, go follow Pat. He's fantastic. Sorry for using
that.
Totally,
yeah.
What's your thing? Just a bartender. How many years have you worked in bars?
Well, I don't work in bars
anymore.
How
many years have you made cocktails?
Probably 8.
Okay. What did you get to in the world?
I don't know. I got to second in the UK.
So at one point, you were the second best bartender in the whole of the UK.
Getting paid minimum wage.
Getting paid minimum wage, living your best life, making the most fantastic cocktails I've ever had. This pains me to say it, to be really nice to you, especially when you're sat facing me. I've never seen anyone run a bar like you can run a bar. You can make drinks quicker than anyone I've seen it. You've got the banter, you've got the skill, you've got amazing, blah, blah, blah. If I went on your Instagram, I wouldn't even look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
So it can't possibly be about that.
But that's not my full-time job.
No, I know, but if you didn't have a podcast that talked about you being good, then you wouldn't get any bookings. So
I'm not disagreeing with that. But
can you judge someone from their social media?
I think if you're a photographer, you can. So like, if I'm a wedding photographer, and the way
October 2024 was your last post.
Yeah, no, I don't do much on social media.
When was the one before that?
Oh, like August or something.
No, October 2023.
That was it. I'm not very good for somebody who has quite a lot of followers. I'm not very good at capturing content and then putting it out to the world. So like, when it comes to, if I'm at a wedding, if I'm bartending at a wedding, genuinely, my main concern, weirdly, is making sure that everything runs smoothly with drinks and making sure they're happy. So I get I'm quite in the zone for that.
But photographers don't think about their content at the wedding.
But they've got how many photos?
Right? And you're telling me that there's no photos of drinks that you've made at weddings?
Oh, there is, yeah. But they're all on there. You don't
find them.
Yeah, they're all on there.
But if you wanted, that's what I'm saying. It's not in the moment that you think of it. If you message any photographer, you get photos.
I understand your point. But if you're a wedding photographer and your livelihood depends on, let's be realistic, Instagram, because that's what most people, that's how you're going to get noticed by most people, unless you're like putting flyers out at the local village hall and I don't know, going on those database websites
if you can
and stuff.
Put it out on a leaflet.
No, but as in like, that is how they get bookings. They get DMs on Instagram or website via Instagram. Surely that is 90+% of how videographers and photographers get bookings.
Not necessarily. Some are recommended suppliers at venues. Some just do the venue over and over again. Some come in a package in a venue. Guys, is that bad? Can I say that?
You just did.
If a photographer comes as part of a package, I don't want to do that.
Well,
no, thank you.
Can you not? Surely you can see their portfolio.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's quite judgy.
It is judgy.
Yeah.
From my experience, you don't need to book a photographer that comes as part of a package.
My thing there would be
venues that say you can only use this photographer.
I'm picturing a particular person that is.
Yeah.
But I think from meeting people that I think are like that, they're probably quite complacent because they get guaranteed bookings.
Yes.
So they probably aren't as personable. They're probably not as skilled because they don't have to like somebody who has to like, it's a bit like capitalism, I suppose. Like you have to You have to.
Why are you
Do you want me to explain capitalism?
No, I don't want you to explain. But don't use words like that. You're not on your podcast.
No, but it's a marketplace where people have to compete.
Yeah.
So like, if somebody who gets guaranteed bookings because you have to get them. Do I like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I do. That's how we have innovation.
I do too. I like the if it's
there's
not good enough, be better.
Well, there's a lot of negatives to capitalism.
Yeah.
Like if you're on the lower end of things, it's not great for you. But the thing that drives innovation is like people competing, which means some people are going to fail. And obviously, I understand why people don't like that. And that's the same with photographers. The ones who fail.
By the way, we're using photography as an example. This is for
It's
every
everything.
supplier.
Yeah, but from like the photographers that aren't very good, aren't going to get any bookings. They're going to have to choose a different career because they're shit. And I know that like that's the harsh world of what, if you're using capitalism as an example, the people who are good and remain and can continue to do that, they're going to innovate, they're going to learn new styles, they're going to compete, they're going to see somebody else, they like their stuff, they're going to copy them, they're going to compete, and then they're going to charge more money, blah, 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 blah. That's literally just what capitalism is. So the reason why I brought up the word capitalism is because the people who are in a package deal are literally just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to generalizing, probably just going to do what they've always done. They're going to leave a watermark on their images, which is I know 100% what's going to happen here. They probably don't need to put the extra mile in. Where somebody like Pat, I'm going to use Pat again as an example. I know he puts so much effort into the process. He's got all his systems down. Like he sends emails. He's got all these systems. Like he bullet journals, for God's sake. He's that organized with things.
So let me pause you there. You're a groom that doesn't understand about weddings, and I sit here and go, here, I like this guy, Pat Partridge Photography. What do you think? I don't know how much Pat is. For the sake of this, he's $5,000. He's not $5,000, but
Jesus,
for the sake of
Pat.
this, he's $5,000. But then here's another one. You then reply, well, we went to that venue and there was that one you could add him onto the package for £500. Why are we not doing that? This is where the argument starts, because how do I explain to you that doesn't understand it, that's not appropriate?
Yeah, but what if photography wasn't important to me, like the average person knows that somebody you're getting in a package deal that's not going to be expensive, probably not going to be great.
Okay, fine. They find somebody on Instagram. It's their mate's cousin who started photography, and he'll do it for 400 quid and a beer. I don't want that.
But some people don't care.
I care. We're having this conversation as a couple that are getting married.
Okay.
I care, but you're like, Dave can do it. What's the problem? How do you get past that bit from somebody that does understand the wedding industry? If your mate sat with you at the pub and was like, oh, my missus wants to get this photographer that's, okay, let's say $2,000 for the sake of doing this, but I can get someone for 400 quid.
What's important to you? Like that's
the photos.
Okay? So
obviously to you it's not.
Okay, but if that is the thing that's important to you,
no, but why does everything have to be the thing?
Because you have to prioritize. It's literally like the same with anything else to do with money. What's the important bit? Spend more money on that. What's not so important? Spend less money on that.
But okay, but how many important things am I allowed? What's the limit? Real talk, because what's the limit? How many can I pick? I've got 10 important things.
Well, then you've got to rank order those and the things that are most important are those important things.
But what if we have different rankings?
You will have different rankings.
Yeah.
100%.
So how do we merge that?
You argue. You talk about it. You like some I'm sure there's some couples out there that don't need to argue but people have wildly different views, like you and I. Like we're similar in a lot of ways money wise, but we're also we have different priorities with what we want, and then sometimes you have to argue it out just to get to the middle ground. Otherwise there's going to be a build up of resentment.
But what's the middle ground between these photographers then?
Well, it might be that. Well, I'd imagine the girl's probably going to win that argument.
Oh, that's incredibly sexist, Brian. And this is why you get messages saying you're a woman hater.
When have I ever got a message saying I'm a woman hater?
Say? I'm sure people did.
I don't know. Probably I'm a misogynist or something.
Yeah, can I just give a bit of context? Brian gives all the talk, but he's the one that does all the cooking and cleaning and is...
Yeah, I'm a house husband.
Working house husband. Yeah. So before you think he's a woman hater...
Anyway, stereotypically, like, even after the argument, the girl's probably in a stereotypical relationship. The girl's probably going to win. You're going to get the outcome there. But
I wouldn't compromise on that. So that will be an issue.
Yeah, but that's a discussion. You might have to have a few arguments about it. I know I just keep saying that, and it might sound like it's like, oh, you just want to have an argument. That's not that. You like for a guy to understand how important it is. Maybe you need to do that.
Let's role play what an argument should look like then.
Okay.
I'd like to spend $2,000 on this photographer.
That's ridiculous. No.
I really like him. He's really good.
Well,
He's
you fancy
exactly the photo. Yeah, I love him. I love him.
We're over. Wedding's off.
Sweet. I really like his style. I've spoken to him. Can we do a Zoom call with him so you can speak to him?
Yeah, but I don't want to spend $2,000. We can spend that we can go on a honeymoon for that.
I'd rather delay the honeymoon than miss out on this photographer.
Why?
Because I want the photos last forever.
Why? My mate Bob can take the photos.
I don't want Bob to even be at the wedding. He didn't even get an invite, let alone is he going to come and take my
What have you got
photos.
against Bob?
I don't like him.
That's rude.
I don't like his photos. He's literally done 3 christenings and a funeral. I'm not having it.
But he's got a good watermark. Genuinely, I just think people don't have these discussions before, and it causes a lot of resentment.
I'm still a little bit mad at you for not letting me spend a bit more on the wedding. Little bit, like 5%.
We didn't have any more money to spend.
No, I know.
So, for me,
in fact, you do.
I'll tell you what
money.
it is. I'll tell you what it is.
You owe me some money because I definitely put some of my own money into that.
Well, no, we agreed on an amount, and you said if I want some more, I'm going to spend some money.
Can I tell you my own stat? I'm making up a stat, but I'm putting it out there. I reckon 92% of women put extra money into their wedding than men do from their own pots. If it's buying bridesmaid presents, if everything that was bought to do with the wedding was put on a spreadsheet and you put who paid for what and 90% of it was joint, that 10% would be the woman. Because trying to explain to you why I need to do a bridesmaid box is not worth the effort.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
But that's not fair.
But we agreed on a budget. Correct.
Yeah, I wanted to spend more than that.
No,
But the budget did not allow full things like bridesmaid boxes. It just didn't.
Okay. Did you or did you not fix a budget and make it look as though you spend something when you spend something else?
What?
Be honest.
What?
Did you? Okay. Was the budget entirely accurate the whole way through the planning process?
For the things we paid for, yeah.
No.
No, it was. For the things that came out of our joint account, yes. I bought other things, yeah. I had to sell my soul for other stuff, yeah. If that's what you mean. Would you pick up extra work to pay for our wedding? If I said, I want this, or if I said, I want that $2,000 photographer, but I'm going to have to work every other Saturday.
We sacrificed not spending money on other things to save for the wedding. So yeah.
But if I said to you, I would like you to go out and get a part-time job to help pay for this.
Probably. That'll be a difficult decision.
So you're saying no to my stuff, but I'm giving examples of how we could earn more money to pay off the wedding, and you don't want to.
No, I think if we like jointly didn't earn a lot of money, like if we earn, like, not that we earn a lot of money, but like if we didn't earn enough even to get like a basic wedding, then yeah, I'd happily go and get a part-time job.
We've agreed on a $20,000 wedding. Yeah. I'm now saying, can you pick up some shifts, an extra 2 shifts a month, and that'll give us an extra $4,000. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And it all goes to the wedding now.
Yeah, but I think, yeah. Right. But it would have to be like, there'd have to be compromise in other areas, because if I felt like you were being unreasonable with, getting things that cost way more than we could have got, and then you're like, you need to go and get a part-time job to do this, I'd be like, that doesn't feel right. But if we were aligned and we were both agreed on what we were doing and we couldn't do it any cheaper for what we wanted to do, but we couldn't afford it, yeah, I'd rather pick up shifts and earn money to pay it off than go into debt. 100%.
Fine. Because I want a £1,000 buffer pot.
You're obsessed with buffer pots.
I love a buffer pot because you can't foresee everything.
I agree.
Then bridesmaid boxes come out of the buffer pot.
But then, so the problem is you decide on a budget, yeah? Part of that, so the minus $1,000 should be the actual budget if you want a buffer pot.
Yeah.
In your brain, you've gone, here's the budget, but I also need another $1,000 for a buffer.
Yeah, but why don't we just both put £500 out of our own money in?
Can you see how that's a problem?
You're a problem. Don't belittle me because you don't want to spend enough on a wedding.
Enough is subjective.
I think my main issues are this. Actually, I've got 2 things to talk about because I also remember there's a bitch from a bride in the inbox that we need to cover. My main issues are this with wedding planning and money as a whole. Stereotypically, men don't understand the cost of a wedding.
Agreed.
There are a lot of social pressures on us whether you like it or not,
Yeah, no, I agree.
that says and dictates that we have to spend a certain amount of money on a wedding to make it look.
I don't know if it dictates how much you need to spend. Maybe
Okay, we have to make it look nice, presentable
Sure.
enough for social media.
Sure.
Because
It doesn't
social media
have to be
was
for social media.
Yeah, but social media wasn't around 20 years
We're
ago.
in a social media world, but the two of us are, so we're more likely to be worried about
No,
that. whereas
everybody is seeing the wedding photos.
they don't have to. They don't though. Not
You're
everybody.
it's so unrealistic
Not
to say.
everybody wants to put their stuff out there.
No, but people do show their wedding photos. It's their
Sure,
profile picture. It's their thing.
If that was something that was important to them, sure.
No, 90% of people would say that their wedding's going on social media, and therefore people will be seeing their social media.
But for us, we had quite a lot of our wedding on social media, whereas I'd imagine probably the average person wants like great couple photo, family photo, picture of the bride or for Instagram, whatever. But that's probably it, isn't it? Surely like they're not. We had way more on our social media.
Ignore ours because I use my
so
marketing.
so like the average person, even if it's a crappy looking wedding and everyone agrees, it's like I'll use my brother's wedding for example.
There's shade on your brother, by the way. This is so rude of you.
No. But
Did you have a nice time at the wedding?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I was young, so but let's say I don't know how much he spent on his money, but let's say he spent £300 on his wedding. He didn't, but let's say that's what happened. And the somebody, not even a photographer, but let's say somebody, a package deal photographer, gets a great photo of my brother and his wife together. That goes on Instagram. That's surely what like most people. That's the thing they want.
I can see the dress. I can see the flowers. I can see the suit. I can see the hair and makeup. I can see a lot of stuff in that photo. This is your problem. You don't think like a girl. Girls and social media is judgy as hell. Like I don't agree with it. I'm not saying any of it is right. But when a girl sees a picture, there's more than just, oh, they look nice. That's cute. Everyone's like, oh, where's the dress from? Oh, she didn't pay her nails for it. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like that's just what it's like. It's bad. It's horrible.
It is bad. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah. I agree. The social media element. Yeah.
Is a massive element. What was I saying? My problems with weddings and money. And everything's just really expensive. Everything is just really expensive. You know how the food shop goes up, weddings go up. So when we're looking at budgets and stuff like that, you don't come home from Tesco and I spent, oh my God, you spent £15 on chicken. Because it's exactly like the scenario that we had on Sunday. Sunday's shop was quite the whirlwind, guys. Came back with no tulips and then had this big ass chicken, bearing in mind I don't even eat the meat, so it was for Brian and our friend that came over. Chicken, £15. So I was like, why the hell did you spend £50 on chicken? You were like, oh, it was organic and it was all that was there. Is what it is. You need the chicken. That was the option.
If that did not fit in our monthly budget.
It didn't fit in our monthly budget.
Well, it did.
That's not what we've put.
I scan as I shop and I make sure that number
so
at the end.
So what did you put back then? What did you sacrifice? My tulips?
I sacrificed breakfast, so I can't. For the next week, I'm not going to eat. No, but we've agreed on a weekly budget for food, and if that pushed us 15 quid over, I would have called and be like, should we do something else? There's no chicken here, or
why didn't you
gone to a different shop
chicken?
or veggie chicken.
Yeah.
Don't insult me, Georgie.
You'll budget when you want to be budget, and you're not budget when you don't want to be budget.
Come on. I'm not a vegetarian. I will never be a vegetarian. I respect people for being vegetarians.
Thank you.
That's not me. I'm South African. We were given meat from day one.
Your stomach literally just rumbled as you said that.
Because I thought of meat.
You've got no chicken for our dinner tonight, just saying. Anyway, right. My bitch from a bride, my phone has died, so I can't tell you exactly what it said. But the premise of it was actually a bitches from a guest. So she was friends with a couple that they worked together. They were a bit older than her, so she kind of saw them as being like older brothers and sisters, blah, blah, blah. She gets invited to the wedding. She gets invited to the hen do, and it starts out as being like a UK staycation-y kind of thing, £200. So she was like, yeah, cool, I'm in. Then they started adding more things to it, like illustrate, like, I don't know, nude life drawing, like activities, which was then starting to pile up. So she then pulls out of it. Then it turns into a bit of an argument. They've messaged saying, she's a university student, so she was like, money is tight. They've now messaged, they had a bit of an argument and then she left it on text and was like, I'm just not getting involved. They then messaged her saying, because we haven't heard from you, we're uninviting you from the daytime of the wedding. Invites have gone out, but if you do want to still come to the evening, let me know. And she's obviously like, what the fuck? What are your thoughts on that?
So she was going to be a bridesmaid?
No, just a guest. But she was going to the hen do.
She goes to the hen do. So she didn't reply to them about...
I think she replied and then it turned into a bit of an argument, so she just left it, and obviously if months went by or whatever.
I mean, I'd be pretty annoyed if I was the guest, but then equally, if I hadn't replied and that meant numbers for the day or something like that, like they needed to know something and they didn't reply, then I suppose I can kind of understand. As far as the money element goes, yeah, I get it. Like, if I was going on a stag do and it was on the upper limit of what I could afford, and everyone else in that group chat earns more money than me, and they're all like, yeah, let's do this, yeah, let's do that, and then you're like slowly like, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford.
I feel bad,
and then
like,
it gets
it's
to a limit.
embarrassing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, of course it is. So I guess the people who pull out, they're probably, I mean, it'd be quite brave to be like, it's because of money, which is what you should do, and there should be no shame in that. But I totally understand why people would do that.
My issue is, and this isn't at this particular person because I don't know this backstory of it, but if you agree to do something and then figures have been worked out based on 10 people, here's the activity divided by 10 means we can afford it. Somebody pulling out then causes the accommodation to be more money.
If you've agreed on the terms of this is how much it costs because this is what we're doing, 100%. But if it then increases and the vast majority of people agree, which I get it, because if like in a group chat like that, you kind of go with the majority, but you don't know that one person's, like unless everybody goes, yeah, let's do that. If there's one person, you can't then judge them and be like, oh, well, we've judged everything on these numbers because they've moved the goalposts, they've changed the terms.
My problem, and this is nothing to do with the person who DM'd, so please don't think I'm thinking about you, but I can see how as a bride, I would get annoyed at someone if they were saying they can't afford to come to a wedding or they can't afford to do the hen do, and then I see them going out every weekend or buying my new outfit, here's my new shoes. Like, that would piss me off as a couple.
Yes.
Which is, again, I have no right to be pissed off, but I am.
Yes. No, definitely. I can see that. But then
I'm
when
not
they
a
say they
priority.
can't afford it, they're obviously lying because they just don't want to go.
So you've just said, though, if you're honest and say why it is, it's because of money. But then half the people go, well, it's not because of money. I just saw them the other day. They went to Spain. That is what happens. Money makes people nasty.
But also people don't know what's happening inside somebody's bank account. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's at university and going out all the time, there's that social pressure of going out. So like, and not that I agree with it, but like you feel like part of the reason why you're there is to go out. So if you say I haven't got money, but you see them, videos on Instagram of them going out and getting drunk with their mates and stuff.
Me.
Yeah. And I suppose that's down to honesty. Could you just message them and say, I'm actually upset by this? And maybe you'll get a genuine answer, or maybe they're like, it's not because I can't afford it. It's because of X, Y, Z.
If more people were more truthful, it would all be a lot easier.
Yeah, but people don't want to hurt each other's feelings. That's probably the main reason, especially certainly with weddings. Dishonesty around that is probably just wanting to feel like you're doing the right thing. But nobody, like, if you say you're not going to a wedding, you're not going to be consciously thinking, oh, they might see my Instagram and me going somewhere. They just use the easiest excuse to get out of going to the wedding. Unless they really couldn't afford it and they're going out and get themselves into debt and they've just chosen to do that instead of that.
But that's what I would uninvite somebody to my wedding because I'm therefore not a priority to them, and therefore why do I have to pay £200?
But then that's the answer, isn't it? They were never a priority.
£200 to have you come to my wedding, but you can't save £200 to come to my wedding.
But then it's priorities. What are people prioritizing?
Yeah, not our wedding.
Weirdly, for most people, our wedding was not a priority. True.
I don't like when you say things like that. I know it's true. I get it's true. Yeah. It makes me sad that nobody's as excited for your wedding as you guys are.
There were definitely a load of people that came to our wedding that were super excited.
No, but you never find anyone who's into it like we are.
One of the times I've been on before, but you see who is your true friend. And people, like everyone listening to this who's getting married, will know that. Like, you will suddenly see people who you didn't expect to be interested or care or put effort in, and the people you did expect to do it don't do it. And I think that's just a reality. It's just a magnifier because it's such a big event and there's so much emotion attached to it that it kind of brings out a lot of stuff that people were probably suppressing or didn't really think about or you didn't know. Sounds really negative, but I think in a positive light, you get to, like, we're closer to people post wedding because we didn't know that, actually these people, we could actually be really good mates to these people because they've made an effort, and like, I will reciprocate that because I didn't realize we were as close as we were, and you want to make an effort and all those things. So I think there's a lot of positives, but then sadly a lot of it family wise is some people just are just dickheads, like family wise. But that is true, isn't it? Like,
yeah. People will shock you.
In my case, but also in like a lot of people's cases, even going to like the tours, the number of girls I spoke to that were like telling me about their problems with the families and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, it's shit. It's shit.
And I think a bit of that is money, because typically their wedding wouldn't have cost anywhere near what your wedding cost. Mainly like inflation. Mainly like it's like coming round to our house and being like, oh God, when we bought a house, it was half the price of this. Yeah, all right. Thanks. It's all very stressful, Brian.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is
the topic of money.
Budget. Try and stick to the budget. Decide together as a couple what the budget's going to be. Or it literally relates to that, the bitches from a guest, where like the budget should have been discussed. You know, if you're going on a hen do, this is what we're going to spend. Everyone all in? Cool, sound.
But then I'm gonna be the, what's it called? Devil's advocate here and say, I told you it was £200 for the accommodation, which would cover food and things. Surely you would understand that there would be more to it than that.
The person who organised it probably wasn't as transparent.
Yeah.
I think you gotta certainly arranging a hen do. You gotta go the lowest common denominator, which sounds horrible, but like the poorest person in quotes, the person who the youngest person who's at university who earns the least amount of money, you got to kind of cater to them. Or you go, we know you don't earn as much money because you don't have a job or you work part-time, whatever. We're prepared to put in a little bit more. Like that's a discussion that needs to be had from the get-go. And if it's not, then you're going to cause
but I don't want to even put more money in for me.
Yeah, well, neither would I. But then if you had that, like a private discussion, I'd imagine
don't message me that. Absolutely do not message
me. If I was a student, if I was like an 18-year-old student, I was going to a family hen do.
A family hen do is different. It's not family.
Yeah, I suppose.
It was if somebody messaged me saying we're all going to put in a bit more money, I don't want that. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I don't want that.
Okay, let's say that person said money was an issue. They were like, I really want to come, but I can't afford it. Then they just proposed.
I don't want to be there.
No?
No.
Right.
Would you want to be there?
When I was a kid, people paid more money for stuff.
You're not a kid. She's 21.
18, let's say.
18 to 21. It's not a kid. No, and only if you're going out with your family, not if you're going out with peers. I know they're not peers, but they're people that... No, absolutely not. Don't be ridiculous.
See, money is divisive.
Yeah, it is.
Money is divisive.
I had something to end on and I can't remember it. Oh, I remembered it.
Wow, we didn't even cut that.
My biggest takeaway from this episode is that I think, stereotypically, men should educate themselves on the cost of weddings before proposing. Mic drop. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But where's the education coming from?
Me. At Georgina Rose Events.
Wow, what a plug. No, but the education varies, and
no, just spend.
Optimistically, I would look at those stats and choose the bottom number and be like, yeah, that's what I'm prepared to spend. And then the top number is very different to the bottom number.
Nah, I just think
so
do not.
I'm going to override that thought.
No.
Okay. I'm going to add to that thought.
Okay.
That you need to have a discussion.
No, I get that, but
before.
It's too late. No, because you can't discuss it before because we're not getting married. We haven't proposed.
Georgie, when we get married, let's go rewind 6 years ago. When we get married, whenever that is,
Brian?
This is what I'm prepared to spend on our wedding. What about you?
No, wait then. I want to spend more than that.
Cool.
But also, you're asking
You're about to wrap this episode up and now you're getting into a rant.
But I haven't done my education on it yet either. Yeah. I don't even think we're getting engaged.
But wouldn't it spark the education digging by me saying to you, how much are you prepared to spend? I don't know. What do weddings even cost? Google. Whoa, 20 grand. That's a lot of money. And then you go, that's not, I thought it would be more than that. And then you go, what the hell? And then you have that discussion and then you go, we can spend 25 grand. How long have we got? We got 5 years, 4 years.
This is why people
Let's start saving or
start
whatever.
Planning for a wedding before they got engaged.
Well, that would be the sensible thing.
But then they get shade for, you're a type A girl trying to get it all planned before he's even proposed. This is what happens. You don't understand what the world do to these women.
Georgie, I think you need to wrap this episode up.
Sorry. I think I'd like to make this a clip so that it goes out into the internet so that it might spark that conversation for people. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Brian. Guys, that was a lot. That was a lot. A lot of things happened in that. We've gone through quite the whirlwind. I've got different opinions on how you perceive monetary value of weddings. I'm disappointed that you wouldn't let me put a videographer. We did get a videographer, but we didn't. If we didn't have one that I couldn't put on a credit card, I'm shocked by that. And it is a very, very, very fine line between one day and the day.
Mm.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
I think that's the perfect way to put a pin in this episode.
No, what do you always say at the end?
Please. I mean, you guys haven't said it for probably the last 10 episodes. We're going to need more reviews, guys. You know, we're going to need Spotify reviews, iTunes reviews. Written reviews on iTunes are super good.
Oh, can I butt in? Could you do me a favour? If you bought my book, could you leave an Amazon review? Sorry, carry on, Brian.
Can you stop plugging your products in this episode?
I'm so sorry. Beth's not here. Beth can't plug her own things. Go and check out Etiquette Events as well.
Because we last time we asked you guys listened, but can you listen again? If you haven't, it actually helps the podcast reach more brides, more grooms, people who actually need this content, because hopefully somebody gained something from today's episode, but we have 112 episodes before this where you get lots of
you went back to monotone,
content.
Brian. I don't like it. We've all turned off.
Okay, well, before you turn off and fall asleep from my monotone tones, go leave a review, subscribe, like.
Okay, you're done. Love you. Bye.